Recently, I spoke to a few friends of mine who happen to be aspiring entrepreneurs who are planning to launch new businesses next year, and were inquiring about how to promote it on social media, but without doing so on video because they don't really like that sort of thing. I told them I had the perfect solution. Start with a podcast. Now, they were a little concerned about what all went into it, so I explained to them how Spotify for podcasters makes it simple, as you can record, edit, schedule, and grow your community all from your phone or from your computer or whatever else you want to use. Plus, if they wanted to monetize it, Spotify will even go out and find them advertisers. And the craziest part is, they do all this for free. So if you're like my friends, stop wasting time, start making money today by heading over to spotify.com/podcasters or download the Spotify for Podcasters app today. Hey gang, Akil here. Welcome back to the Trading Coach Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to do a little bit of a book review, I guess if you can call it that, of a great new book that I'm reading called Maximum Trading Gains with Anchored VWAP, the perfect combination of price, time, and volume. And I first brought this up in episode, I think it was 902, something like that, 902, where I told you guys about my continued education project for this year. And if you haven't heard the episode, make sure you go back and listen to it. But each year I try to do something, some form of continued education, whether it's reading a book, whether it's taking a course, whether it's reviewing old courses that I took in the past, or whether it's some type of strategy development or back testing or what have you. Just something while I'm away from active trading, something that's going to help improve my trading for the future. So think about it like a professional athlete putting in the work in the off season. That way they can better themselves for the season ahead. And I wanted to check out this book because, I'm a big fan of Brian Shannon. I have his book, I think it's called Multiple Time Frame Analysis, something like that. I apologize for butchering it, but it's a book that came out, I think back in 2008. So it was something that I read when I was first starting my trading career and learning about technical analysis. And I thought it was a good read, an easy read, and I heavily respect what he's doing, so I want to hop in this one as well and check it out. It was also something that I became interested in because I've had conversations in the past about VWAP, specifically with Mike Bellafiore, and I felt kind of bad because I don't think I was able to give him the answers that that he wanted. We were talking about it specifically for Forex, and at the time he didn't really have much exposure to Forex. I was the Forex guy, but at the time I didn't really trust, understand, or value volume specifically in the Forex market. And as times have changed, I've grown up a little bit. I've gone on these continued educational journeys. And one of my projects for the last 2 years was learning about volume and specifically implementing it into my trading strategy, which is something I did this past year and allowed me to have very good success. I was having very good success already, but it was another tool that increased my edge, and I'm really grateful of that. So knowing that, my views have changed on volume, it only makes sense that I revisit a tool that is, widely known across the industry as probably one of the best technical tools out there. So I'm really excited. And I want to kind of come in and give a book review, sort of, right? It's not a review, kind of just my thoughts. That's what I do here on the Trading Coach Podcast. Mainly because a lot of you guys were interested that I was interested in this read, and you wanted me to keep you updated. And I kind of promised I would, so I will. And I'm only about 3 chapters in here and haven't learned too much about the practical application of the specific indicator, which is the Anchored VWAP, right? And that's a good thing because I'll tell you what, I speak to a lot of traders all the time that want the shortcut, right? I spoke to a trader the other day that was just asking me about, hey, Akil, what's the best indicator I can use, right? This trader didn't know a lick about price action, a lick about the price chart, but was simply looking for, hey, give me this indicator that I can plug into my chart and will make me money. And we were having the conversations about, and again, one of the conversations came where I had to explain that, hey, indicators are lagging, right? Indicators only kind of, print or update after price prints or updates, right? And was like, what? Wait a minute. I thought price had to follow what indicators do. And I was like, no, you got it backwards. And it made me want to preach this concept to you guys as well, because I know this trader's not the only one that had this question. And don't poo-poo this trader. Don't roll your eyes for you guys that are vets and listening to this, right? We were all at that point at some point, right? Unconscious incompetence. We don't know what we don't know, right? So until someone tells us, we can't make fun of anyone for thinking a certain way, because again, right, if no one's teaching this stuff, right? Everything on the internet, well, not everything, but most of the stuff that you see on the internet is complete junk. And, until we're given a different opinion or a different way to view it, we have no reason to think that junk is junk. And what I love about this book in the first 3 chapters, one, they're very short chapters. So for someone with the shiny thing syndrome like myself, where I can only go like 5 minutes before I start chasing squirrels outside like a dog, short and sweet is good because I don't get distracted. One of my biggest problems with reading books is I try to practically apply what I'm learning while I'm learning it. So let me know if you ever did this before, right? I'll be reading like a long book, right? A long technical book, really wordy, whatever like that. And it'll be like a 20, 30 page chapter, for example. And I'll get about 10 pages into the chapter, and then like my mind will leave the book. It will go and load up a chart. It will start taking what I learned or am learning from the book, start implementing it on the chart while my eyes are still reading the book. And before you know it, I'm at the end of the chapter and I retained nothing from the last 20 pages, right? So then I got to go all the way back and read it again. This was even worse with audiobooks. I loved audiobooks because I blow through like 100 books in like a summer, but I would retain nothing because, again, my mind would wander. So the fact that there are short and sweet chapters is amazing because it gives those pattern interrupts. It breaks it up. Each time I finish a chapter, I can kind of stop. I can kind of download the information in my head. I can kind of think whatever thoughts I need, write any notes I need to do, and then move on to the next one. Even better than that is the fact that it's got pictures in colors, right? I love pictures, right? Call me a kid if you want. When we're talking about technical analysis, there should be pictures, and preferably big, non-blurry color pictures. And I know this may seem stupid to a lot of you, and I'm not going to throw any books under the bus, but there are some books out there that are like 1,000-page long with very small, blurry, black and white pictures that make it really, really hard to understand and visualize what exactly you're learning about. Now, back to the beginning of the book and the mention that, hey, it doesn't even really talk about this indicator yet as far as practically applying it. I think that's a good thing. And that goes back to the conversation I had with the trader who wanted to learn about an indicator, right? So knowing that indicators are lagging, indicators adjust and adapt and update based off of price, my philosophy on teaching traders about indicators has always been this. One, price is the most important indicator, right? It's a visual representation of all the buyers and sellers, all the participants in the markets, their actions, their opinions, their motivation, all of that stuff. There's no indicator better than price. And, Brian kind of follows up on that as well, which is, again, from the first book, I know he's a price action trader, right? So with that being said, before we can understand, or let's put it this, another thing about indicators is this. If you're going to use an indicator, and I'm a big fan of less is more, if you're going to use an indicator or a handful of indicators, right, you need to know how those indicators work. Not necessarily the formulas and the math behind it. I can't even tell you all that stuff, but you need to know what your indicator is actually indicating and how your indicator moves. Like, what does it mean when the MACD crosses the zero line? What does it mean when an RSI is overbought or oversold? What does it mean when a stochastics K crosses the D or something like that? What is it telling you? And that typically comes in its relation to price. So when you have an understanding of price action, you can better understand your indicator. When you can better understand your indicator, you can better utilize it, adjust it, and understand what type of signal it's giving you. Is it a filter for bullish or bearish? Is it a entry signal? Is it an exit signal? Is it a stay out the market type signal, right? Indicators can help us with all of these things in relation to price, but if we don't know how to use them the correct way, if we only use them the popular way, right, I'm doing little air quote things here, we're not gonna get the best out of them. And he spends the beginning part of this book just kind of reminding us of that. price is king, first and foremost, right? Let's get a reminder about price. Let's get a reminder about what the trend is, how there's no such thing as a trend, right? It's all perspective of when you're looking on the chart, right? The importance of multiple time frame analysis, which again was the theme of his first book. So I shouldn't be surprised that he brings it in. And then also understanding what volume is, why it's important, right? This specific indicator is going to take price action and volume and time in a sense into account. So if you don't understand all three of those things, how are you going to understand the indicator? So I really love the fact that it is forcing you to focus on the basics, because trust me when I say this, right? Every trader that I've worked with who has tried to jump around to the advanced stuff before mastering and understanding the basic stuff has failed, or has had to go back and relearn stuff from the beginning. So I love that he's forcing you to do this. So that's about it right now. Again, it's a good book so far. I would tell you this as far as the volume thing, right? Because this is an indicator that takes volume into account. The book that I spent the last 2 years kind of reading and learning and studying and practically applying was called A Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis by Akil, right? Now, it's a good read. It's another short read. It's an easy one. So I would recommend reading that book first, because again, if you're going to use an indicator that talks about volume, and maybe Brian goes in to talk a little bit more about it. I'm only on chapter 3 right now. But if you're going to use an indicator that is, that indicates or takes volume into the equation, I think it is important that you understand volume first. And I can tell you that from Akil's book, and I've read a lot of books on volume. This was my favorite one, not necessarily because of the practical application of how to use the volume indicator and volume spread or volume price analysis, stuff like that, but the introductory part of really explaining what volume is, how it plays a role, and really not even volume, but some of the hidden, movements, like with institutional traders, whatnot, behind price action, and how volume can give us a clue of what those movements are and where those movements are. And Brian follows up on this in his book, talking about, hey, understanding when a move is real and when a move is fake. So I think that Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis is a great precursor. But again, I'm only 3 chapters into this one, so who knows, he may cover it a little bit more as well. But I know with the understanding I had from the previous book, helps me, or I'm assuming it's going to help me understand this one a little bit more. So little kind of really early on review, talk about whatever you want to call this. Again, you guys requested it, so I will bring it to life. I'll probably do another one. These things are all random. I don't have anything planned, so it'll probably be another day where I get through a few chapters, or maybe to the halfway point of the book, or maybe something sparks interest, and I'm like, hey, let's keep the Trading Coach Podcast gang updated. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions about anything, as always, you can leave them in the question box below. If you're listening on Spotify, comment section below if you're listening on YouTube. And I'll see you guys with the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Want to give you a quick reminder, there's lots of episodes of the Trading Coach Podcast, and if you're new, there's no way I expect you to listen to all of them, but one way you can use this podcast is like a reference guide. So enter Trading Coach Podcast, and then enter whatever the subject or topic of your choice is, and I guarantee the few episodes on that subject will come up. If it doesn't, then you feel free to hit me up directly. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, however you can reach me. If you have a question, ask it. If I think it is podcast worthy, I shall create one.